Holy moly, we got Lizardmen, and there's a lot of them, so let's get going. Anything that follows is my opinion. If you don't like it, cool, good for you. Do whatever you want. Red Crested Skink Chief. I almost never see him on anything besides on foot because he's nice and cheap. There's other stuff. Ripperdactyl, you can get sniped. Horned one, you might as well take Krokgar. And the Ancient Stegodon, might as well take Mazda Mundi. So I don't see him with Foe Seeker. I do sometimes see Warrior's Crested. It's a very good ability, 160 gold. So it depends on if you want him cheap as possible or slightly effective, because it is a good item. Just depends on what you're doing. And if you want him to be slightly effective, take the Opal Amulet to make him harder to snipe. So either take both of these or neither and make him naked. Tic-Tac-Toe. Master of the Skies is pretty good. It's only, 74 gold. Ooh, yeah, that's really good. Oh, hey, Ed's here. Ed, say hi to everybody. Deadly Onslaught might be worth it, honestly, on Tic-Tac-Toe. Because what you're trying to do is Tic-Tac-Toe is dive in and kill something really quickly, so Deadly Onslaught may not be the worst thing in the world. Up to you. You could save a bunch of gold and not take it. Target a flying unit. Probably don't take this. It's 230 gold for an debuff on something that only works if it's flying. And then Blade of the Ancient Skies, active if flying. Again, that's 240 gold and it only works if he's flying. So if he dives down to attack someone, it's not going to be active anymore. So definitely assess the matchup, but I probably wouldn't take either of his items. I would just take Master of the Skies. Keep him cheap. Source Old Blood. He can be good on either his Cold One or his Carnosaur, honestly. Both are pretty good options. If he's on his Carnosaur, he definitely wants Foe Seeker and Stand Your Ground. If he's on his Cold One, maybe just Stand Your Ground, but Foe Seeker also can help with their abysmal speed. So both are probably good most of the time. Amulet of Itzel is really good for if you get into a hard spot, and Horn of Kygar is excellent. It's one of the only reasons you're taking him. So you take him fully kitted out. Oxyotl. Probably don't take Slippery. I don't see most people take it. You can if you want to, but he's not supposed to ever get into melee, so it's kind of betting on failure. But I could see it in a couple matchups. Give him some melee defense until reinforcements arrive, I suppose. Master Predator is super good. You almost always take it. Gives him that snipe trait. Otherwise, whenever he shoots, he can actually be spotted. So you do want that. And then I've seen some people take it, some people not. The Golden Blowpipe. I think it's just if you have the money, take it. Otherwise, it's cooldown. Its cooldown's pretty long, so you better be sure you're going to make good use out of it. Krokgar. Probably take him on his Horned One if you're going to take him on, Cold One versus Horned One. It's 100 more gold for more charge bonus, more speed, more armor, more health. But either is okay. Grimlock is excellent unless you're going to get shot. If you're in a melee fight, Grimlock's awesome. If you're going to get shot a lot, he just makes you too tall. Krokgar, I would take all three of his abilities, because you kind of need him to be a world beater, so you should probably just get Deadly Onslaught so you can make sure you win the fights. And you usually want to save this weapon. You sometimes have to use it to catch something, but you usually want to use it for the explosion to get out of infantry, so after you catch something, you can get out of there. And Hand of the Gods is usually pretty good. So you usually want to take Krokgar fully kitted out. Kroxgor Ancient, Monstrous Strength is okay. You can cut it if you need the money, but if you can keep it, that's also not bad. Miasma of Despair is super good against low leadership factions like Beastmen or Skaven, so know what opponent you're dealing with before you do that. Amulet of Itzel is just good, and Horn of Kygar is also very good. So far, the Lizardmen are the least naked faction we run into, which is weird because in-game, they're the most naked faction we have. Nakai, Miasma of Despair is super good, as we mentioned. Primal Roar is good if you have a Kroxgor blob or something. And the Golden Tributes is nice for the Perfect Vigor if you have, again, a blob. But Nakai isn't a super good lord, and he's really bad outside of blob builds, so probably just avoid him. Oh, the Slawns are the same, except for their Winds of Magic. So you want Great Arcane Conduit, you do want the Shield of the Old Ones, you want the Bound Banishment. I personally like the Blood Statue of Despite. It's kind of like a Spirit Leech for multi-entity models for only 41 gold. And I don't take the Aura of Quetzal personally anymore. It takes too long to recharge, and it's I don't know. I just haven't found it that useful, so I take it off. Tehanoan, probably don't take him. Because if you don't have a net, which none of your casters outside of the hero slot, the Engine of the Gods isn't going to hit, so don't take that. Maybe you could make his Riperdactyl work or his Horned one. Most likely the Horned one. Up to you whether or not you take the lore passive, but you probably want Arcane Conduit, you probably want Stand Your Ground. Plaque of Sotek, Self if casting. 20% damage resistance for 21 seconds, 12 leadership. If you're going to spam Flock of Doom, maybe that's okay, but it's 173 gold, so I would probably cut it. And 179 gold for giving everything around you poison. Also probably not worth it because Lizardmen have so much poison on their roster. So you're probably just going to take him with these two abilities. Mazdamundi. Toilet Seat is locked. Depends on if you want him in melee. If he's on his Toilet Seat, he needs protecting. If he's on Zlock, he's going to do the protecting. You do want all 4 of these abilities. And for his spells, that's pretty good. Especially if he's on Zlock, that's really good. For only 160 gold, you get 10 melee defense, 10% missile resistance. And even if he's not on Zlock, that'll kind of help him from getting sniped. So I think Mazdamundi's pretty kitted out. Skink Chief. Usually on their Pterodon or not at all, but I could see them being on a Stegodon. Ancient Stegodon, not as much, but a Stegodon could be pretty good. But usually you'll see him on foot or on Pterodon just as super cheap. Take off that. Take off that. So you just take him butt naked for either 400 or 800 gold is usually what I see. Scar Veteran. You either want them on their cold one or on their Carnosaur. Carnosaur's not as likely these days, so probably on their cold one. Take off both of those. Plaque of Dominion can be pretty good for -8 leadership for only 80 gold. That's pretty good. They're just weird. They're kind of weirdly fragile units. Scarvets usually aren't recommended. Either of the Skink Chiefs, doesn't matter on their Lore of Magic. Probably going to want them on their Bow Stegodon or Pterodon or on foot. Pterodon if you want speed, Bowstick if you want another monster, and on foot if you just don't want them to be very expensive and also not to get sniped. And don't take either of their items. Their items suck. Talked about you because of the other one. Lord Croak. Probably want Greater Arcane Conduit, unless your other Lord also has Greater Arcane Conduit, because I don't think they stack. Supreme Shield, the old ones. It's pretty good. 40% damage resistance. I would get that. And then Golden Death Mask. Depends on if you're in a blob with like Nakai and the -10 melee attack would be cool. Otherwise it's 240 gold. Don't know if it's that worth it. Croak's melee stats are so abysmal that he'll probably just die if anything gets close to him. And 10 melee attack won't make the difference. Because he only has 12 melee defense. So for that to even matter, that thing would have to have like 22 melee attack or less. And last but not least, the Skink Oracle. He has no mounts because you have to take him on the Pew Pew Dino, the Troglodon. Foe Seeker's good. Get him out of a pickle because he's surprisingly squishy. His stats wouldn't indicate it, but he does just get messed up in melee combat. Spells, do whatever you want. I would not take the War Drum because it only works if he's outside of melee. And if he only needs the speed when he gets caught, so doesn't really help him too much. Opal Amulet's pretty good, though. So I would take the Opal Amulet, Foe Seeker, and whatever spells you want. And that is Lizardmen.